Hey guys, Ramsey here. Welcome to another video. Today we have an early impression video. Finally, if you've been following along, you know I've been fighting off this seasonal flu or this mixture of flu, COVID, RSV, cold, whatever you want to call it. And then today I woke up with this red eye thing going on. It's just been one thing after the other. But my nose is back and I trust my nose now, so I can finally do an early impression on a brand that, quite honestly, if you are a fragrance lover, you should be very excited about this brand. And the main reason is the quality of the ingredients. The house is Les Abstraits, and this is what their packaging looks like. This is the original release, La Dernière Exquise, beautiful quatrefoil that's ribbed, beautiful bottle. And the fragrance today is his second release. There's three in the initial lineup that, Eugene and the perfumer Antoine Lee worked on, and this one's called Belle. And Belle means beautiful soul in French. Lovely names. I love, the names have really grown on me. And at first when I heard La Dernière Exquise, I thought, I don't know about that name. But all of it's grown on me. The fragrance, the name, I'm absolutely loving this. I think this is the release of 2022, if you ask me. So now you have Belle at the very end of the year. It's December as I'm shooting this. I can't believe it's December already. And so we're going to talk about this fragrance. I've been wearing it as my scent of the day. I have a 5-hour dry down on my left hand. I'm just going to do a fresh spray to kind of remind myself of the opening. And we're going to talk about this scent because this is a very interesting fragrance. And let me tell you a little bit about it and, my breakdown of it and what it makes me feel and the notes and all that fun stuff. So this is basically here's the breakdown according to the brand, okay? Belle, which means beautiful soul, is a buttery orris that sits in contemplation. And if you know Eugene, you kind of know the story, okay? This one is more about the heartbreak. This is more about where he kind of meditated and, faced those feelings head on. And there is something very contemplative. That's a good word. Contemplative, meditative. There's a couple other words that came to mind that I'll try to remember when I'm doing this review. But basically it says, ready to let go of the past, fully present in the moment. And actually, if you go to Eugene's channel, you can hear his personal story on how he would break down, his, the way he would describe what he basically went through. Within the last week or two, he did that video. So you can go check it out on his channel. It's You Smells Good for, the one person who's watching this and they don't know who Eugene is. But it's You Smells Good is his YouTube, his YouTube channel name. It says, Belle is a warm, embracing fragrance that was inspired by a peaceful time to quiet the mind and heal the soul, says Eugene, founder and creative director of Les Abstraits. Making space for the self is about bringing awareness to the present moment, and Belle inspires that kind of stillness. Since Belle is an Antoine Lee creation, there is a liveliness and movement within the fragrance's comforting stillness. Anchored in previously rich orris palladia butter, warmth radiates from golden-hued tonka. Touches of fruity fresh vanilla are deepened with lush dark cacao bean extract, accentuated with ginger and cardamom, angelic musks, and ethereal lift, signaling the dawn of better days ahead. The dawn of a new day. Which I hate that phrase, but it is what it is. A note from the brand. That was basically the note from the brand. So here's the note breakdown. You have Orris Morocco, Iris, Blue Ginger Madagascar. Middle notes are cacao bean Trinidad, cardamom, frankincense, and base notes are sandalwood musk and tonka resin Venezuela. And Antoine Lee and Remy are basically teaming up to make these amazing fragrances. And if you've ever smelled the house Les Indemodables, which, oh man, where did I put them? I moved them. They used to be right there. Where did I put my Les Indemodables? See, this is the problem with moving stuff. I was going to show you guys some of the decants. Here we go. So if you know some of his work, specifically the one that you can kind of think of, because there is a connection with the vanilla, and the cacao used is Vanille Havan from the brand Les Indemodables, Les Abstraits, Les Indemodables, from the brand Les Indemodables. You'll kind of get, they're completely different fragrances, but there are some material overlap. And if you've smelled Vanille Havan, you will kind of get an idea of the quality of materials used in this house. And so that's why the very first thing I said is, if you are a frag head, whether you love Belle, whether you love La Delle Exquise like I do, this is probably my favorite rose patchouli castoreum fragrance I've ever sniffed. The castoreum in this is absolutely stunning. And you know, I compare the castoreum in this to only one fragrance, and that's the Great Antaeus. And so, you know, anytime you compare a fragrance to Chanel, which is Eugene's favorite brand, it means something. And there's some comparing here too, but not to Antaeus. For me, this is more that beautiful iris, this lovely, beautiful, fluffy iris that you get from something like 31 Rue Cambon. That's what I thought of when I smelled this at very first. I thought, damn, there's two iris fragrances on my potential to buy list now. This and 31 Rue Cambon. And I know that Eugene, who loves Chanel, would not be mad at that you know, characterization at all. They don't smell alike, but the iris and the quality of the iris used will remind you of a Chanel, especially that higher end, less exclusifs line that really revolves around iris. Many of them revolve around iris. And 31 Rue Cambon, I got a chance to smell thanks to Rachel, and I'm infatuated with it. The iris there is so beautiful. And likewise, the iris here is of extremely high quality. That's the very first thing you'll notice. The iris in the opening is stunning. And I've had a chance to smell some of the most, you know, some of the most high quality iris that is available on Earth, thanks to my friend Russian Adam. He sent me a sample of a orris compound that's 80% Irone. So if you go to sites like Francesca Bianchi or something like that, she'll brag on her site, and actually some of the breakdowns, 15% Irones, exclamation mark, exclamation mark. And she's right. I mean, if you get 15, 20% Irones, it's extremely high quality. 80% Irones is like, it's mind-blowing. And it is one of the most beautiful experiences that you will smell. Smelling that level of iris orris at 80% Irones is it's like a religious experience. The iris in this and the iris in something like 31 Rue Cambon will kind of, you know, they'll give off this beautiful irisy, fluffy, the word that came to mind when I smelled this the very first time was cloud-like. This almost fluffy cloud-like quality from the iris. It does still have slight, I don't want to say vegetal, but earthy. There's a little bit of earthy touches, but it's in the background. It's mostly this very fluffy, powdery, you know, not like the makeup iris you smell from Dior Homme or anything like that. This is completely different. This is a different type of iris, but it's so beautiful, stunningly beautiful. If you love perfume and you are an iris lover, Belle is a must sniff, at least a must sniff, in my opinion. And what ends up happening is, after the feelings of, wow, the ingredients of this brand are complete top notch. I don't know how they can, you know, 100 mils for whatever these are going for, 260 or whatever they are, is an absolute steal to me, because brands nowadays shrink the sizes, they jack the prices up. And you know, while I was wearing this today, I've got the dry down right here, and it's also equally beautiful. Is I was thinking about how some of these houses, especially from the big brands that we know and trust, they could easily do this. Absolutely, they could do something like this. The fact that the quality of materials from an independent YouTuber, which again, Eugene's been around for a decade. It's not anything new. He's not like a newcomer on the street, but still, he is just one person who had a dream and kind of chased his dream. But the fact that I'm smelling this and thinking, man, this is competing with Dior, it's competing with Chanel, maybe even better than those big brands, is kind of it's a little disappointing as a perfume lover. It's extremely exciting for this brand, and I'm so happy for Eugene and the fact that he got to chase his dreams and see those dreams through, and no one can ever take that from him. That is his forever. And I know he holds that very dear, and I know that's important to him. But on the other side of the coin, you know, when you look at these brands that have the power, they have the money, they have the wealth, they have the influence, right? The fact they're not putting out stuff like this means that they are being cheap asses, basically. I don't know how else to say it. I think they're probably cutting corners heavily on cost. I should not smell something like this and go, wow, this is what quality perfume should smell like. This is what perfume for perfume lovers should smell like. I should get that feeling when I buy a Dior or when I buy a, you know, name your brand, MFK, or, you know, these other high-end brands which are charging even more than Les Abstraits is charging on a price per mil basis. Some of these Rojas, I know the Rojas, absolutely. But some of the Amouages, their new Silver Oud from last year was $500 for 100 mil. This is almost half that, right? And the quality ingredients are right there. If not, Les Abstraits is even better. So that's my, it almost feels like the fragrance industry as a whole has kind of teamed up and became this giant monopoly, and they're taking the piss on everybody. Honestly, that's what it feels like to me. When I smell stuff like this, it feels like the industry has teamed up and they're taking a piss on us, because we should be getting stuff like this from the big houses. Instead, we get watered down, you know, we get this watered down, generic, boring, mass appealing release repackaged over and over and over and over again. And I don't know about you, but it pisses me off. I mean, the fact that on the designer side of things, that YSL and Dior and, you know, even designer Chanel's, they should be stuff like this. The high-end Chanel and Dior, these big brands that have this kind of pull, they should be releasing mind-blowing stuff. Instead, it's the opposite now. These are the risk takers. These are the guys that are, you know, the Paul Parquets of the old days. These are the guys now who are doing taking the risks and challenging the status quo. These are the guys. Instead of, in the old days, it was Lanvin, it was Chanel. You know, it was, name your favorite brand from the old days. It was Guerlain. It was Guerlain from the old days doing stuff like this. Not anymore. Now you have to go find the little guy stuff because the big guys are doing stuff completely different. And that popped into my head today while I was wearing this. And I was like, man, as beautiful as this is almost like a little bit of a sad fragrance for me, because it really highlights just how far the fragrance world on, you know, when you take the fact that you've got your Puiges, your LVMHs, your Estee Lauders, your L'Oreals, the fact that they own 95, 98, 99% of everything, it feels like that. It feels like they own everything. It's a little bit bittersweet. It really is. And so I don't want to go too long because my voice is not back to 100% yet. But here's what I'll say. Once that iris kind of starts to come through, and that's the first thing you get. The second note you get, excuse me, I'm going to take a drink of water before I start coughing in your ear. Okay. So the second note you get is this chocolatey, unsweet, deep chocolate feel. It's definitely there from the get-go, and it's definitely, you will not confuse it for anything other than chocolate. It's beautiful, but it's not super sweet, which I like about it. It seems like it's a dark, deep, you know, dark chocolate, not milk chocolate. It feels like this dark, chocolatey, unsweetened, high-quality cacao, okay? And it's a little bit mixed with vanilla. I'm going to get a cough drop. Sorry about that. I wanted to do this review, but I honestly couldn't talk yesterday. And so my voice is back a little bit, and I want to power through this review. And so you will notice that the cacao almost feels like it's turning into this naturally, like this, like the cacao is like this natural sweetener to this fragrance. It's not sweet because the focus is on the iris, and the focus is always on the iris. The entire fragrance is focused on that buttery orris, okay, that sits in contemplation, okay? Think about that. That is the centerpiece of this fragrance. Everything else highlights it. And so if the buttery orris that sits in contemplation is the centerpiece, the other notes can never be turned up in a volume where they will overshadow that orris, which is very hard to do, I think. This is a fantastic creation because at least for the 5 hours I've been wearing it, I get this beautiful centerpiece of iris. Now, what highlights it changes though. So think about think about you meditating and you're in this very calm, peaceful mind, and there's this aura around you, right? You, as the meditator, is that beautiful orris composition, whatever you want to call it. All of the bits and pieces around highlight it. The cacao bean, which you will get first. The cacao bean is what you'll get first after you smell the iris, that fluffy, powdery iris. And it works as that natural sweetener. And then you'll get some of that vanilla. Again, unsweet. It's not a super sweet vanilla. I love whatever this vanilla bean, this, what did they say? This Tonka Venezuelan / vanilla thing is beautiful that they do. I love how it's not super sweet like many of the other brands. It doesn't have that designerish feel. It doesn't have that, sickly sweet, generic, boring Tonka thing that everyone does. It doesn't have that at all. And so first you get a little bit of this cacao, and then you get a little bit of the vanilla, and the next thing that you will actually get, to me, the piece of this fragrance that may kind of go off in a direction where it's not something that you can really get by the notes, you have to kind of smell it and wear it yourself and see if it works, is somehow in the mid, it starts to have this, the only way I can describe it is this salty, Laffy Taffy-like smell. That's the way I describe it. I heard other people maybe say marshmallow, and I could kind of see salty marshmallow. I could see salty marshmallow. But to me, it was salty, Laffy Taffy in the mid. And right now, that salty Laffy Taffy has dissipated. I think it really comes between hours 1 and 3 or 4 is where that mid of salty Laffy Taffy, like purple salty Laffy Taffy, starts to come through. And that may put some people off. I don't know. For me, I think it still works. It's beautiful. It's very original. I'm constantly thinking, like, what am I smelling here? This is very different, but it's that mixture of olibanum, the cacao, maybe the African ginger adds this sprightly feel to the perfume. But by hour 5, what you get is this beautiful, soft, creamy sandalwood with white musk. And the white musk almost feels like a comforter enveloping you, you know, like just thrown over you on a cold day, sitting by the fire. There's this comforting feeling to this. The phrase that popped into my head when I was wearing this is cocoon. Cocoon is actually the word that popped into my head as I was wearing this. It really does feel like you're in a cocoon. And what do you do in a cocoon? You transform. And what do you do while you're meditating and trying to get over all of the heartbreak? If your heart's shattered into a million pieces, you transform yourself into something different. Eugene has constantly said on his YouTube channel he's not the same person he was before. Of course, no one is, but you know, the angry Eugene that would you know, burn our moth bottles and all that stuff is pretty much dead in this transformation, and he's transformed into something different. And there's a beautiful element to that. This idea of contemplation and thought and finding oneself and then transforming into something beautiful afterwards, after going through all that. Almost like, you know, almost hardened through fire, you know, like steel, you know. There's this hardness to it now. You've been through something hard. You've come out the other end. You're transformed into something beautiful. And that cocoon process kind of kept coming back to my head as I've been wearing it, because see, now I'm starting to get some of that salty, gingery. It's like salty, gingery, taffy like feel. I think it has to do with the mixture of the orris, the iris, and that mid. But after the cacao comes, and after that salty Laffy Taffy, that's the only way I can describe it. I heard salty marshmallow from other people, but salty Laffy Taffy is the way I would describe it. After that kind of dissipates, you will begin to notice at about hour 4 to 5 a beautiful cardamom note. The cardamom note used here is stunning, stunningly beautiful. You know, if you like cardamom heavy fragrances, if you like something like Tom Ford's Oud Wood with that beautiful cardamom note, you know, if you're a fan of cardamom, if you like the cardamom used in Amouage Boundless or something like that, those cardamom heavy fragrances, this might be one to check out. Because now that the cardamom's coming out, you know, there's multiple stages. So here's the tough part about describing this fragrance is there's multiple stages and there's multiple interplays between the notes, but they all center on that iris. Okay, so the iris is always the center. It is the person sitting there meditating, and everything else is kind of revolving around that, is the way that I think about this fragrance. And it does transform. It does have this cocoon-like quality, but there's not huge transitions. It's not like what you smell when you first apply is totally different from 5 hours later. No, it's not totally different. It moves, but it also kind of sits still, if that makes sense. Very strange. Has got me thinking about it all day. Literally, I mean, I've been thinking about how I'm going to try to describe this. And, you know, that's basically what I came up with. I mean, there's not much else to say other than I'd love to see what the late dry down does. But it smells like it's going to be this, this creamy sandalwood with musk, white musk, and a little bit of tonka. The white musk, like I said, has this clean sheet feel to it without being boring clean. Many people don't like that boring clean, you know, white musk feeling to it. And here the musks feel white, but they don't feel boring. They don't feel like the boring white musks Captain Kirk loves to use so much. They feel different. And I really like this. I think I would probably go for 31 Rue Cambon over this first, just because, I mean, that completely blew me away. There's so many of those Chanel's exclusives that I am ignorant on. I need to amp up my understanding of the less exclusives, but I don't think Eugene would be upset at all that 31 Rue Cambon is the only fragrance I can think of that could compete in this style that I would want a full bottle of over this. I still think it's totally full bottle worthy. And I think if you're a fragrance lover, that you will greatly appreciate this composition. I think you'll greatly appreciate the care Antoine Lee put into this. And mostly the quality of the ingredients will slap you in the face, especially if you've been, you know, if you've been like a designer wearer for most of your life and you're just kind of getting into niche or higher end fragrances or whatever it is, this will stun you. Because, I mean, you're not going to be prepared for the beauty of the quality of the ingredients here. I think it really is a fantastic first couple releases from the house of Les Abstraits. I can tell that they've really taken time on the quality of the juice being the most important factor, and that's what you want as a fragrance lover. You know, the packaging is nice and everything. The magnetic cap is nice and everything, but what you really want is the juice. You want the juice to be the most important factor, and it really feels like that is the case here. I was going to try to show you guys the magnetic cap. There we go. Didn't want to come out. You know, there was a lot of time spent on the magnetic cap to make sure it holds the bottle, right? And I love this stuff. You know, it's a very interesting take on Iris. There's very few people who are making perfume like this nowadays. Very few people. You don't see very many people who are making perfumes on a feeling, you know, on the way that they felt at a certain time. And very rarely, I think, could you, even if you went to a perfumer and said, I have this feeling, I want you to make it, I don't know how many of them could do what Antoine Lee did here. I don't know how many of them could pull that off. And, you know, even if I hadn't read that little blurb, I would still have this feeling of, you know, cocoonness, of being wrapped in something, of, you know, increasing your knowledge level, of broadening your horizons, opening your mind. You know, it's like closing your eyes so you can see. That's what it's like. It's like closing your eyes so you can see. That's the best kind of one-line word I could say for this. But everything else, outside of that salty, Laffy Taffy accord in the mid that might kind of put some people off if they're not ready for it, this fragrance is exactly as it's described, and it's beautiful. It is stunning. Unfortunately, I do have another meeting I have to get to, so I've got to bounce. But I hope you guys appreciated this early impression. Again, this is only an early impression, so things can change. I'm glad I can trust my nose again to start doing these. I have so many samples people have sent me I need to get to, but this was the most important one because I wanted to put information out there. I wanted people to, you know, be able to, you know, find my thoughts amongst many of the other early adopters or early reviewers of Belle. And, you know, it's close enough to Belle Ami, my favorite fragrance of all time. So I love the name. And what else can I say? I mean, it's definitely worth a sniff. Definitely worth a sniff. Thank you, Eugene, for sending this to me. Seriously, I feel very blessed to be able to put my thoughts out on this early. And it is something that will potentially go on the to-buy list, you know. Definitely something that potentially will go on the to-buy list. So I hope you guys appreciate this. If you've smelled Belle, do drop me a comment down below. Let me know what your thoughts are. Let me know if you agree or disagree with my take on it. Let me know what you think of the brand, Les Abstraits, and, you know, the quality of the ingredients. And, you know, I love seeing your faces down below. Thank you for the feedback. Sorry I've been a little out of pocket lately. I've been trying to let my vocal cords rest, but I should be back. I feel like I'm on the back end of this. So, cheers, guys. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you again tomorrow with another video. Bye now.